Sorry, that's what you hear every time you start the game up, right? That's what I was thinking, at least.
That's a good.
When he wakes
It's
up.
good. It's good. Good.
Oh man, yeah,
Unless you
I
die, and it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just,
Oh, that's true.
I heard that one a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, though, I would just be like, "Oh, can I do this?" I was like, man, I would find out, like, "Oh, you cannot."
It's like you can, but you die.
Or yeah, you can do that. You will die. How many times? Like, question mark. How many times did you get crushed by the sands when you were in the sunken city?
Oh man. I can't remember my first playthrough. I did get crushed once. I think twice. I think I got into. No, I actually escaped. There's the eye shrine in the Ember Twin.
Mhm.
I thought you get stuck in there, but there's a way out. I did get crushed once. I did also manage to get crushed once by the elevator when you first start, which was I didn't know that could happen, and that's like,
Dang. Sorry.
what you got there?
I was messing around earlier today. Where I need to find it though.
There you go. Something like this.
There it is. There we go.
There you go.
Nice. Yeah.
That's a different key though.
Right. I don't even know if it was the right one, but I was practicing other songs. And I was like, hey, that sounds like it.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, it was nice. Because that was just open strings. So I moved it to the 5th fret to make it sound a little different. But anyways,
I'll tell you that just sort of as a part of the preamble, I do love the space bluegrass kind of vibe, like the banjo picking and the harmonica, and that's all fun. Lots of
the
fun.
soundtrack is very nice to listen to until you get to the end time song, and it's like, why am I so stressed? Like, oh, gotcha. Dun, dun, dun.
I do like the soundtrack a lot, like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very cozy, and when you contrast that with just the oppressive, the inevitable oppression of just sort of hurtling yourself through the vacuum and the void of space. There's some it
does. You say that, but when you start off, you are kind of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Everyone's kind of excited about you, going on your first trip.
Yep.
And you find out space is scary.
Oh
yeah.
Space is where you go to die a lot, which cemented. It's in listening to the state of the archives talk about it, like Mike or Kaysen basically said that at one point in time, like they wanted to be an astronaut, and I'm just like, no thanks.
You seen like Challenger flight?
I wanted to be an astronaut for all of about like a day. And then I started like reading about space and like the vacuum of space and like how you would die in space. And I was like, no, thank you. That is something I did not do. At some point in time, I think I am just going to launch the shuttle into space and just jump out into the void without a suit on and see what happens.
Oh, without a suit. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I imagine
pretty much immediately
rather
choke.
Anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Because I think I did that on a planet once. I think so. I can't remember.
I had an angler, like, and I know this is like, but I did have an anglerfish bite off the entire back end of my ship.
I've not had that happen. That's awesome.
Yeah, the back part of my ship fell off. It wasn't an anglerfish, but I slammed into a planet or something like that. I slammed into something in the back half, and it's like, oh, I can't move. And then I started drifting away from the hull. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like it's just a piece of glass in front of me.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
I did break the ship on more than one occasion, but I'm pretty sure, like, at least in my head, and now it could have just been like I hit some, because like it was like one of those times where I was still like figuring out the dark bramble, and I was trying to outrun an anglerfish, and like I darted towards a like a hole, like, because you can kind of like try to dodge them. It's like not super fruitful, but you can. And like I had managed to avoid it a little bit. Like it ran into a branch or whatever, and it kind of like backed off. And so I was like darting towards a hole, and it just like it started to rush up, and it was one of those things. And I turned around, and so I don't know if I just hit like the bramble hole too fast, but like then like his mouth was like right there. I was mostly in the seed thing, and there was no back of my ship. So, it's not like I got to see this like part where it's like his mouth had closed on it, but it was like in my head, I'm like, he just ate the back end of my ship.
Yeah,
you disgusting space monster.
I did have one death where I like just came in too hot, crash landed, and my spaceship fell apart, and then like it was kind of all there, and so I was like went back to kind of see, like, because sometimes you can repair stuff, so I went to see if it could be repaired, and then my ship just exploded, like, and I died. It just I walked up, stood there for 2 seconds, and it just blew up, and yeah, they reset.
Wow. Huh.
Okay.
Huh. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Spoilers: you come back to life after you die.
Oh no,
it's crazy.
Yeah. That's the one thing too. It's like I just as a sort of a brief commentary, I think that 22-minute cycle is just like a little too tight sometimes. Like sometimes it's like just give me a full 30 minutes. Like,
well, but they didn't have enough energy. I mean, that was all.
It's an arbitrary value, my guy.
that eye roll into the back of your skull.
I'm just like,
sorry, listeners, you couldn't see what just happened. He was like, "Give me a break."
Yes,
that was awesome.
If I could have reached through the internet and slapped you, I probably would have,
and I would have deserved it too.
And I would have probably just been like Josh, you ignorant slut. That's an Office quote. That is an Office quote
of an SNL.
Therefore, it makes it okay. It's an Office quote. So.
It's like it's Josh, you ignorant slut. Slash Dwight. And it's like the way now I'm making the joke even more meta, because now I want everybody to envision it in quotes on a whiteboard with Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Yeah, right.
Nate McKeever. Like just like Michael Scott, Nate McKeever.
Yeah, basically. Either of you guys grow up with the Magic School Bus?
Of course.
I was aware of it. I think my little brother might have watched it a little bit.
Okay. But. So there is an episode where they go into space. You were talking about how, you were freaked out by space.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yep. It stuck with me for a long time. One, I grew up in Texas, and the Houston Space Center, obviously in Houston, was only a few hours away. So we took trips up there occasionally, a couple times as a kid. That place was cool. You get space ice cream, which is freeze dried ice cream, which is strange, but
it's kind of tasty though.
But it's fun. It was fun. Yeah. It's tasty. Yeah, it's just not as good as real ice cream though. No. But it's fun and novel and whatever. But they do. At least I remember. You're talking about wanting to be an astronaut and being freaked out by it. I remember learning pretty early on what it takes to be an astronaut, and everything. Not everything, but that a lot of work goes into it, obviously. And so it wasn't ever a big deal to me. I didn't ever have my heart set on becoming an astronaut. But back to the Magic School Bus. is there's an episode where they go into space. They visit all the planets. Okay, they get to Pluto because it was a planet at the time, guys. Okay, even if it's just a little dwarf right now.
So it's a planet toy now.
Yeah.
Hear about Pluto? That's messed up.
It is messed up.
That's a side reference, but keep going.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I haven't watched all of that. I've only watched some episodes. Anyways, sorry, rabbit hole. A wormhole we don't want to go down.
If you will. Yeah.
But so they're at Pluto, and Arnold, the kid with glasses, I think he really wants to go home. He's arguing with someone. He really wants to go home, and the other kid just does not want to go. Or they're in some sort of a fight. I don't remember what it is.
Just throws a temper tantrum about something. Yeah.
He threatened, she's the one, but she's the one being the jerk. He just wants to leave, and he threatens to take off his spacesuit if she won't let him leave or do whatever. And he does it. I say he does it. He just opens his helmet, and his face freezes like just ice. Just it's just encased in ice. And then in the next scene, they're like back on Earth, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I caused this. Blah blah blah. I'm so sorry." Obviously, Arnold's fine. It's not that big of a deal.
Well,
but it freaked me the heck out.
It was distressing. I was scarred by that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then learning later that it wouldn't just freeze. Like it would be more like is it True Lies? No. What is the one Schwarzenegger movie?
You basically you kind of explode.
Yeah. You puff up and
because it's the way that
Arnold didn't do that.
The vacuum and the apparently it's it's just incredibly cold, but basically all of the gases evacuating your body does something where it's this massive basically you kind of just explode. I can imagine it's not very pleasant. If you're actually conscious, do you die? Would you die like that? Or would you actually experience that pain for a few minutes? But
I don't want to find out.
No, thank you. No desire.
I'm fine not knowing that.
Yeah, I'm good not knowing that. The other thing though is going to space actually requires you to fly, and I don't like flying. So there's
nice.
That it was between all of those things. I was like, no, thank you. I'm good. I'm good.
I'll stay down here.
I'll stay down here. I'll be that guy. I'll be that guy.
Is it no, it's not the 6th day. Okay, sorry. This is just eating me up. Why I can't. Total Recall. That's what it is. It's Total Recall.
The scene where his face bugs out.
You can recall it?
Yeah.
Google
helped with that.
The Google machine.
I don't think I've ever actually seen True Lies. Anyways, Schwarzenegger movies. Okay, we good with banter? You got anything else?
I feel like it. I feel like we're okay.
I don't have much banter. That's all the banter I got.
It was hot dog night tonight, and that's always a good night.
Oh,
hot dog night.
Yeah, hot dogs, dude. I take my hot dogs very seriously. Nathan's all beef Franks, and you get the jumbo ones. There's only 5 of them in the jumbo pack, but they are all excellent. And they are big enough to actually accommodate the bun, and not look just like a child's toy.
Yeah, like a malformed corn dog. What do you put on your hot dog?
I'm a mustard guy.
How do you take
either
it?
that
Just
or we
mustard?
get I do I'm straight mustard, or sometimes I like chili and cheese.
Yep.
Like chili and
Have you ever had a
and-
Chicago dog?
That's the one with avocado and all that crap on it, right?
No, not an avocado, but it does have tomato. It has peppers.
I'd probably pass on that. That sounds obnoxious to me.
Dude, changed my life.
See, I hate tomatoes.
I don't like tomatoes either.
Elevates it. It elevates it so much between all the different kinds of peppers and the tomato. I
can do some peppers.
Black poppy seed bun. It's like a totally different experience than just a.
Is this like a Skyline chili situation where it's
I don't know what
why is it this way? It's got Skyline Chili is like
it's
uniquely
it's the only
Ohio.
good thing to come out of Ohio, aside from some people I know. I do know some native-born
Ohioans. Is this like
Ohioans
Cincinnati
that I don't.
chili?
No, it's
Yes,
called,
I think so.
Okay.
yeah, but it's got like a little bit of like cocoa in it or something.
Yeah.
And it's just like it is the most amazing.
And you put it over
chili.
noodles?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just the most amazing canned chili I've ever had in my life. Like,
I don't know.
It's insane that something that good comes from such a garbage state.
Yeesh.
I'm a Western Pennsylvanian.
Yikes.
Like that is a deep-seated like we hate Ohio. Like I can't explain it. It's just like I was born this way.
Because my
Got some-
heart is in Ohio.
I've got some Ohioan blood in me. My dad's from Cleveland, so I'm a half Ohioan, but I'm born in the South, so
Ohio,
redeems me.
Ohio.
It's just. Do you guys remember? And we do need. I guess we do need to like get moving here. But you remember a couple years ago when there was that like massive chemical fire, and like there was just like this massive cloud of like burning chemical fumes hanging over like a giant patch of Ohio for a while.
Yeesh.
No, nobody remembers
Maybe.
that except for me.
This.
I laugh about it. It's terrible. I shouldn't.
Is that the same thing where the river caught on fire?
That might have been it. Yeah.
Are you
it
guys
was like
talking about an episode of 24?
No.
Is this
no.
real life?
There was like some sort of like chemical plant or something that there was a fire at, and it might have actually set the water on fire too. But I just remember there was like this basically this like huge cloud of like basically chemical fumes that like was just hanging over Ohio, and it blew into Western Pennsylvania, and I was just like, oh, Ohio, you're the worst. You're just awful. I hate you.
There's a Reliant K song called "Mrs. Hippopotamuses," that's about Ohio, and like that in the chorus they talk about like before the Cuyahoga River burns the whole downtown. I think it's a reference to that fiasco.
Nice.
But yeah,
one thing I will say is that Ohio license plates are pretty cool. They're very colorful. Because some states just have really lame license plates.
PA license plates used to be pretty cool, but they've gotten like progressively more lame over the years.
Yeah. Texas has got super lame. Like it used to be cool when I was younger. They'd had like the city. I don't know if it was the Austin skyline. There was a skyline. There was a funny enough a rocket ship for Houston with the stars and then a guy, and it's all in silhouette, and a guy on a horse like a cowboy, obviously.
Oh, that's cool.
Googled
it. Oh, yeah.
Ohio.
Yeah.
It's colorful.
I like that.
It's nice, but then they turned to just all white, black letters with a little emblem of Texas in between, like splitting the letters in half. And I'm just like, what? This is so bad. Like,
yeah.
So lame.
The old PA license plates were just like blue and yellow, but they had like a giant yellow thing with the Pennsylvania state shape on it. And Pennsylvania is a really weird looking state. I love it, but it's kind of dumb looking. But yeah. But now it's just like the top part is blue, and then there's big white, and then yellow. That's dumb.
Yep.
I've seen Swedish.
It's like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna look up Ohio's now. Just.
We did this.
That is. I hate how good that is.
When we drove back to Texas earlier this year, we started playing this game where if we see it's a game within the car. If you see an out-of-state license plate and you call it out and you can say what the actual state is, then you get a point. And so every time we cross state lines, then it would change over. You know, you get a point for previous other states and stuff like that. And so. And now, especially my daughter Josie just like plays it every time we're in the car, or even when we're just walking around. And it's funny because now that we're in Iowa, it's much more common to see out of state license plates. Because when you're in Central Texas and it's like 4 hours to get out of Texas any way you go, you just don't see as many. So, yeah. So that's why I notice these things. Oklahoma's
I see
is
Texas
pretty good.
plates up
decent.
here sometimes.
Yeah. The boring ones.
I guess.
Is it the boring version? Okay, because I was talking about it earlier when you were looking up Ohio. Is that the newest ones that they have are just super boring. We have them on our van. And it's just lame.
Georgia has a nice license plate. It's kind of like minimalist, but it's just got like some peaches on it. Yeah. Oh, dude, Texas is super dumb.
Yeah.
That might be worse than Pennsylvania's.
Yeah. Oh no, it definitely is. Yeah, for sure. Because there's not even any color in it. This is the old one. I just dropped a link in our chat here. Sorry, guys, you can't. No one can actually see this. You can only hear us. If you just Google it.
You got Google. Check it out.
Just Google Texas license plate.
That's pretty good. You got some oil rigs in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got all sorts of neat stuff. That's fun.
Yeah.
Real quick before we start, I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick.
All right, have fun.
Okay.
Don't fall.
Thank you. I'll let you know if I need help. I'll call.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm looking at license plates. Utah's isn't bad. Utah's is kind of cool.
Utah. Have I ever seen Utah's? I don't know.
It's got like that crazy, like, you know how in the Utah has like in that one park, that big giant stone arch thing.
Yeah, that is cool.
New Mexico's is kind of dope. It's like kind of like minimalist.
Similar colors, right? No,
but
I'm thinking of something else.
Wyoming's isn't bad.
Huh.
Maryland sucks. It's just Maryland sucks though.
Just in general.
Yeah. See, the thing is like
it's okay.
When you're Pennsylvania, you just hate all the other states around you unreasonably. Mm-hmm. Like,
gotcha.
Like New York, they can't drive. New Jersey, and I love you, Alex, but like New Jersey sucks.
But your state is garbage.
Your state's trash. Maryland's the worst. Ohio has a garbage people. I don't know what it is, like, but yeah, dude, it's New like Jersey Pennsylvania. Really it is this kind of like weird thing where it's like there's like a little bit of like bitterness about like other states. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking at the New Jersey plates, and they're almost as bad as Texas because there's a little yellow gradient, but outside of that, it's the same deal where it's just like.
Vermont's
very minimalist
really
with an emblem. Which one?
Vermont. It's just green and white.
Okay.
Tennessee.
Y'all just been walking through license plates.
Yeah.
Tennessee's has Dolly Parton on it. That's kind of sick.
That's not a normal one. The main Tennessee one actually changed. It used to be like kind of a nice Smoky Mountain vista, and then they changed it to just be blue.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, this is like the best like custom license plate thing.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah.
If
you're looking at custom ones, then you can kind of...
You can get like a little silly. I was like, that one has Dolly Parton. I was like, yo, that's wild. But it's...
that would be super lame.
Dude. It was like a legit... Like you can get in Tennessee, you can get a Tennessee Titans license plate.
Sure.
Like you can get a Don't Tread on Me license plate. You can get one that has like a Jazz Cat.
Don't step on my car, son.
It's weird. It's just so like, dude.
This is a rabbit hole I did not think I would be going down.
I got really confused by Jazz Cat, and I Googled it, and sure enough, Jazz Cat's the right cat is how they call it.
He's a cat and he's playing a saxophone.
Yeah.
He's Jazz Cat. All right.
Jazz Cat.
Preamble has gone on entirely too long here. Let's get this
on Jazz Cat. Let's get going.
Like that's just we need to just like be like before we just break reality. and spend the next 3 hours just contemplating Jazz Cat.
Is this
closer
the
related to Taco
life?
Cat?
Who taught him how to play saxophone? Why is he so cool?
Cats don't even have lips.
This is breaking my brain.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Backlog Breakdown podcast, where we're just seeking to equip our brothers and sisters in how to play well, on how to take the recreation of video games a little bit more seriously, dig a little bit deeper, and see what we can find out of this wonderful form of recreation that we call video games. I'm one of your hosts, Josh. And I've got my co-host with me here, Nate. But we also have...
I am here. This is correct.
A special guest. Yeah. One who's certainly made a mark on us. Mark from the Quick Play Podcast.
Howdy, folks. I'm Mark.
I'm restraining myself, and I'm failing. But I have to.
Before we hit record, Nate, you said, I have a question mark, and I kind of smirked to myself because I've gotten that one before. Yeah.
Nice.
I didn't even know you did it, but
I didn't.
Unbeknownst
you had no
to
idea.
Yourself.
I was like, but no, I do have questions, Mark, but that doesn't work nearly as well. But now I can't say it in good conscience, but I'm going to anyways because it must be done. It has to be done. Everybody's like, what is he going on about? Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, no.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hey, Johnny, what's up?
I did not hit her. Anyway, sorry if you don't know what that's from. You're probably better off. But...
You're probably a much happier human being.
But anyways, we're here today to talk about a video game, one that Mark you picked out for us to play this year. And as we're winding down the year, we wanted to make sure that we got around to it.
Well, thanks.
And it was it's a little out there. It's a little wild. Sorry, Nate's face is just so disappointed in me right now. But before
I am both angry and disappointed.
Right, yes.
Just gotta give him some space.
Disappointed. Okay, before I make another reference, we will be talking about Outer Wilds later on in the episode. But before we jump into the video game itself, we've got some forms to observe. The first of which is just to catch up over the last couple weeks since we recorded last time. And Mark, it's been a bit since you've been on the podcast.
What?
So
It's what?
I
It's what?
just said it's been a little bit since you've
no,
been on the podcast.
There's something missing.
What is it?
There's something missing.
What is
Come on,
missing?
just
Something's
hit the button. Do it.
Do
it. Dance, Broccolo.
It's been.
There you go.
There we go.
Lovely.
Attaboy.
Wow.
It's been more than
But
2
it
weeks
has
since we talked.
been an undisclosed amount of time since we last. I mean, it's been a hot minute since you've been on, Mark. And
not too long ago, actually. I'm trying to think back, but I was here for a bite size, and then I was here with Jake and Landry. But yeah, not too long ago. But
fine. Go ahead. Just
well,
I was
sure.
gonna say it's been ages and ages and ages, but it really
it's been so long. Yeah. Well, but still, there's been a lot that's happened lately. So I am, for one, now the proud owner of a new pellet grill, which I'm greatly enjoying.
Nice.
That's nice. I was officially elected to the office of deacon at my church, which is also very exciting.
Hey, that's
Looking
awesome.
forward to that. And we're expecting a baby girl in March. So that's the other news. There you go. A little scoop.
Now, so you were elected. Have you been ordained and installed yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
That's coming up in 2 weeks.
We actually just had an election last week on 2 candidates, and I think their ordination and installation will happen in a couple of weeks as well. So
nice. Probably a little bit less contentious than the election that we'll be having soon with 2 candidates, but that's neither here nor there.
No, but well, dude, I'm stoked for you because it's
yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
It's a good work. So yeah, man.
I'm excited for it, and and then baby girl in March, and that's our next big thing, and that's we're looking forward to that. Current son is 21 months or something like that. He's a year and a half until he's 2, and he's cruising along, having a great time.
That's awesome.
Does he?
Oh man.
Well, because he and Byron are about they're I think Byron's a little older than Emmett.
Yes, by a few months, I think, if I remember correctly.
So So he's not really aware of what Big Brother status is or anything like that. Is he?
No.
Is Emmett talking at all?
He
Byron
is
babbles
doing
and has some words, but
that's where Emmett's at too, where he's it's kind of hilarious where he has a legit English word and then it just says a full sentence in complete gibberish. Or it's he'll try to repeat a word and gets 2 syllables in and then just adds 5 more syllables of nonsense. So it's really amusing and fun. I'm enjoying it.
It's super endearing. It's oh
yes,
that
was an effort.
Yeah, it's he does say Byron will come up and go Mo, and then he signs
yes,
and then he points to the thing that he wants, and he's and sometimes you even get please, the please.
Oh man, I need to teach
Oh.
that one. Emmett's rude and demanding. Well, teach some please.
Most of the time it is just more point and then meltdown if he's not accommodated immediately. But
we get a lot of up and then up please you can turn on the charm.
Man.
Nice.
So, babies love them.
They're the best. I love them.
No one coming.
That's exciting.
That's exciting, dude.
So that's for me. That's all the big updates since last I was here.
That's awesome. Dude, that is a pile. Absolute pile.
Also, I sold my Xbox and bought a Steam Deck. That's the most important thing here.
It's all good. It's all good. I hear nothing bad in any of that. This is all
all good stuff. All good stuff.
All praiseworthy.
Yes.
Yes, life-changing experiences for
exactly.
Sure. All of them.
Joshua.
Yeah, man.
How have you been since we last spoke?
I've been good. Not too much has been going on. One thing I'll bring up is, I feel like this could even be a shout out, but it's not for our community. It's about my local community. Is that we've got a local brewery just 4 blocks away, which is pretty awesome. It's actually, because it's so close, I thought I would be visiting it more than we actually do, because it's literally on my way to work. Not that I would stop at a brewery on my way to work, but I just mean that it's really close to my house. But there's been, we probably go maybe once a month. But it's just so cool because they don't serve food there. They will have food trucks. But you're totally welcome to bring your own food. So we did this. We took my parents when they came, and we just made dinner and brought it with us and brought utensils and all that stuff and played games. We brought some board games and had some beers and ate food. And we've done that twice just as a family when we didn't have, it's Friday night and oh, we don't have anything planned. Why don't we just go down? They have something new on tap. We follow them on Facebook or whatever. And so we did that again this weekend, and it's just so much fun to go. This time, their special beer was a pumpkin porter, but what they did was, how with margaritas they salt the rim, they put a cinnamon allspice sugar mixture on the rim, so that like as soon as you get it close to your nose, like just the spice like hits your nose, then you're drinking the porter, and it was good stuff. It was good stuff. So,
Nice.
anyways, yeah. So we did that again, and that was just so much fun. Really, I like having supporting local businesses like that, especially when it's self-serving as well. So win, right?
Nice.
Is it?
Of course.
Is it pretty good beer?
Yeah, for the most part. There have been some that I've been, disappointed at, but they usually have like maybe probably 8 to 10 beers on tap, and then a couple ciders that they'll have brought in, and probably a couple seltzers as well. I've never done any of their seltzers. Some of their stuff can be hit or miss. Like sometimes I'm really expecting it to be good, and it's just like, just not my thing. But other times they've done some really good ones. So, yeah, they did one which sounds crazy, but they did like a marshmallow stout one time that was actually really good. And it was, they said they tried to make it like a chocolate Charleston chew, if you've had that before. And so it was really interesting. You have that in your brain, and you take a sip, and it's like, oh, okay. So it's different, like it's like a dessert stout. It's it's not all roastiness. It's like, oh, it's actually pretty sweet. They've done peanut butter porters as well. They've got a good solid a honey brown ale that I like a lot. Yeah. So they've done some good ones. That my wife had this key lime gose is what it was. So it's a sour, but they tried to make it taste like key lime pie, and it was crazy. Like it tasted like key lime whipped cream. Like it was actually kind of sweet, and you still get kind of the tartness. Yeah, I don't know how they did it.
Huh.
Well, goses aren't like, dude. I cannot abide sours, and maybe it's just I
Okay,
haven't had a good one yet.
Yeah, Sam's
But,
a big
like,
fan.
Goses though are
It's okay.
like less
Mhm.
like sour. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
more of a tartness to it, but
yeah.
yeah. So we dig it. The last time we were out there, they did Oktoberfest, so that was, well, yeah, I guess it was less than a month ago, because it was towards middle of September is when they did their Oktoberfest festivities out in their front area. People with lederhosen and all that stuff. They had a Stein raising competition, which is kind of funny, but it was a good time.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Mark, you were. It sounded like you were kind of like weighing in on the sour conversation, and if I cut you off, I did not mean to.
Oh no.
Don't want you to feel sour about that.
Don't be sour.
Oh man, yeah. Well, partly it's like I'm gluten free, so beer is.
Okay.
I have a smaller selection.
Yeah.
So all that sounds amazing. It's like it's easy to get a good like pale ale or IPA or not necessarily sour of gluten free beers. Stouts are a lot harder.
Yeah.
I've only seen like one or two, but
Mm.
all that sounds great. I don't have much more thoughts beyond that. Good stuff.
Well, at least you have like IPAs, like pretty handily. Like
there's one hazy IPA I had recently that was really good that I can only get at my wife's parents' place in Texas, and so it doesn't come any farther east than that. So it's hard to get, but I like that.
Is it the best? Do you love it?
It's the best.
I like it. I like it. Hey Nate, how about you? How you been?
Well, I was just like on beers. There's a Pennsylvania brewery called Trogs, and I probably mentioned them before. They have 2 seasonals out that I got a 4-pack of pounders each, and they have they have a seasonal Imperial Red called Nugget Nectar. And some years it's really, really good. Some years it's not. But then they had a double Nugget Nectar. And
a double Imperial?
Yes.
Whoa.
Which makes it sound like it should have been like the hoppy. This should have just been like a punch in the mouth. But it's like there's something about like the second time, like when it got like hopped again or whatever. Just it's got some like a little bit of bite to it, but like the malt on it is really nice. And I tend not to be like a malty kind of guy.
Okay.
but it was excellent. Excellent. I still have
Nice.
a can in the fridge.
Mm.
I also got
Double nugget nectar is just cracking me up a little bit.
Mhm.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Dude, I have
It's
no
fun to
idea if
say.
it's gluten free or not, but it's
Oh,
delicious.
probably not.
Probably
That
not.
sounds great. I will appreciate it from afar.
Yeah.
Also, being very far from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
From
So,
very far away.
much
I don't think gluten free is helping much on that one.
Yeah. But then I'm trying to, and it's on the tip of my tongue. Nimble Giant is their other seasonal, and it's just like it's more of a traditional double IPA, but it
Okay.
might be my favorite beer ever.
Oh,
And so that was out, and I saw that it was in the bottle shop, and I was like, yes, please. So I have a can of that. I have one can of that left. But
nice.
But those are both like 10% ABV, so it's like, yeah,
Oh,
they're just like, I'll have this one, and that's gonna last me the course of the evening.
yeah.
So
Nice.
they're big old boys. But to
Mm-hmm.
answer your question, Josh, we're doing pretty good. Byron and I got haircuts today. That's always nice. Always feel good after a haircut.
Nice.
I got my lawn mowed, and I've got it down to a
Another
science.
haircut.
Yeah, of sorts. Well, I also found out, like, we have wild strawberries growing in our front lawn.
Whoa,
Um,
nice.
they're not, they don't produce anything like worth harvesting, but
Okay.
the rabbits and the local rabbits and deer, I'm
Mm.
sure, just appreciate those. And it's like they are
I like that band.
scattered. Yes.
It sounds like a hipster band name. Sorry. Local rabbits.
Local rabbits and deer.
Frightened Rabbit's actually a band. So that's
Yeah.
pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
But
Local natives. Anyways, sorry.
It's just like our front yard, there's a sizable portion of it that's just like, I was looking down today, and Byron and I were sort of out in the yard playing, and he kept picking up these little red things. I was like, those are wild strawberries. I was like, yeah, put those on the ground, buddy. Like, could he eat them? Sure. Probably not going to hurt anything. I'd rather you not, though. Like, just like, I don't want you to get into the habit of like picking up things off the ground and putting them in your mouth.
Yeah.
But we're doing all right. I
No
did
yard
have
nuggets.
a situation with work where I got called into a meeting, and it's like one of those things where it's just like it. I'm a little hesitant to say this, but it's like, I've kind of talked about just how, like, management and I have a disagreement about how long my route takes, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like one of those meetings where it just, how do I want to say this? It wasn't a bad meeting in the sense that, like, there's still like that, like, hey, you should be able to do this faster. But there was also like some legitimate pushback where we were able to just say, well, hey, like, on all the metrics that you guys could actually like gig me for, like, I'm not taking too much time in the office. I'm not, sort of like standing around on the street. Like, it's just, like, it was like basically one of those things where it's like, well, if your solution is just like to tell me to go faster, you can't do that. So, like, it's like one of those things where, I mean, it's it's like, and I think like the cool part was that at the end it was like, it's just like, because anytime you're sitting in that, like, you always feel like you're kind of like you're being judged, right? Like, it's kind of an attack on your character, your work ethic, or whatever, and it's super easy to take that personal. And just like the fact that, like, I was able to sit in that meeting and sort of like hold my ground, but like be respectful. And too, like, that my union rep had my back, and he was just like, dude, like he's beating office time, like he's beating this other stuff. It's like, this one, like, street time is street time, like, kind of like, it's so it's the issue isn't resolved. It's not like it's going away, but it's just kind of like one of those things where it's like, well, like, okay, like, don't know what to, like, it was kind of like one of those things where I don't know what to tell you. Like, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
guys.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like it was one of those things where I was like, oh, I was just pleased by the fact that like it remained fairly courteous, because like that stuff can get
Yeah.
like real acrimonious like real quick.
Definitely.
So, but yeah, no,
That's nice.
we're doing pretty good. It's just kind of like just chilling.
Sweet.
I had a good
Nice.
last couple of weeks or so. So yeah,
Awesome. Hey,
Nice.
that's good.
been
That's
fairly pleasant. Yeah,
fairly pleasant.
We are a video game podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's time for us to talk about video games. But almost time for us to talk about video games. Before we
right.
get into that, we do like to sort of just highlight some of the other media that we've been into. And Mark,
Mm-hmm.
as our guest,
How about you grab your headphones and turn up the sound?
Grab your headphones and turn up the sound. We're here to tell you what's going down. Two podcast hosts with attitude and style. Reporting on the media that'll make you smile.
I didn't forget that one.
Watch the movie, we binge the show. We read the book and we want to let you know the top 3 and 7.
Okay.
I will note, Emmett loves that song.
Oh,
Except I listened at 1.5 speed, so he's like very furiously like pointing.
it's a thrash
Yeah.
punk song now.
Yeah, exactly. So
I love it.
I'll work on his taste, but it amuses him and me. So
well, it's an earworm, but it's the kind of earworm that burrows into your brain and rots it from the inside. So yes. But
Yeah.
what have you been into lately, Mark?
yeah. So talk about something I read.
Okay.
Was I've been reading. Well, last time I was here, I talked about Jonathan Hickman's X-Men run. I'm back to talk more Hickman. But I went to kind of the more of the near beginning of his work with Marvel. So when Robert Downey Jr. was re-announced as playing Doctor Doom, which is a thing that I don't love, but I'm curious about. But I thought that I should go back and read Secret Wars again, the one from 2015. And then because I wanted the context of like what's the what is this movie going to be? And then I got into reading it and it's like I don't remember any of this stuff, all the threads that led here. Turns out that like Jonathan Hickman has been kind of like laying the groundwork because he wrote that mini-series event, and he's been kind of laying that groundwork since the beginning. So my pick here is for his Fantastic Four run, which also kind of coincides with a book called FF. So Hickman took over writing Fantastic Four with the volume that started in 1998. He started up on issue 570 and kind of takes it through the end of that run. And then it's just like a lot of what Jonathan Hickman stuff does is like it is heady, it's high concept, it's really cool and just really hard to follow, but just fascinating stuff. What he does best is talking about Reed Richards being super smart and just kind of unable to stop himself. There's a spoiler for the first few issues, kind of the first arc, but he like makes a doorway into the multiverse. Turns out a bunch of other Reed Richards had also already done that, and they're like this multiversal think tank just solving gigantic problems with like the mantra of we're going to solve everything. But also turns out like all of these Reeds have just abandoned their families, and so that's kind of the wrestling match that our 616 Reed Richards is working through. Just kind of unfolds from there, and that's what's fun about Hickman is he like wrestles through kind of big moral questions like that too. He loves playing around with Doctor Doom. There's the Ultimate Universe Reed Richards that turns evil is fascinating. If you're still at all like invest in the MCU, this is kind of the groundwork where it's maybe going, and even if it doesn't turn out all that great, it's worth reading. So that's my one thing.
Nice, dude. That's cool.
I've got a second thing here, unless you want to take a turn. I don't know how
You're good. No, I mean, I'm kind of like, I kind of want to go back, and I think I read Secret War, like their or read through some of that arc years ago.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go back and like the thing about Reed Richards, it's like it's so easily like he can so easily like it's specifically I think about the Fantastic Four, and there's like obviously like they're sort of elementals, right? You know, wind, water, fire, and earth. But then like Reed, like his counterpoint is like Ben Grimm in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
Where Ben is like Ben looks like a monster, but he's actually probably the best of them, you know, just as far as like he's the most human. And Reed does have this thing, like I just remember like reading some Fantastic Four where Reed's like so smart that sometimes he like actually becomes like a bit of a monster. And I remember
he's a massive jerk. Like
oh, he sucks. Like he's kind of a bad dad, a bad husband, a bad friend all the time. And like it's just like it's something that constantly sort of like comes up in the different story arcs, and it's just kind of like fascinating. I remember that what was that version of Reed called in the Ultimate Universe?
The Maker.
The Maker. Yeah. And just like they just leaned into it, and I was like, oh, this is dark. Like this is pretty sinister. So I might have to check some of that out. Like, you know, I don't always dip back into just comic books as like the serial stuff as much as, but it's like I do love those runs, like the sort of like limited, like the series runs kind of stuff.
Yeah, and what you can do is like if you get Marvel Unlimited, just search by creator of Jonathan Hickman and then sort it by oldest to newest, and you can kind of just start there with Fantastic Four. And it gets into his Avengers run, it gets into some of the Ultimate stuff in the Ultimate Universe, and then eventually like all the stuff the MCU is talking about with like incursions and multiverse stuff, that's all in Jonathan Hickman's books.
And it's probably
so it's kind of worth
significantly, like it's just probably executed a lot better.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah. To be seen, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. That's so cool. You said you had something else though there too. Yes. So what else are you going to bring us?
Well, I've got a repeat. I'm talking about Formula One. I brought it back. I want to bring it back again. Mm-hmm. This season of Formula One has been like actually fascinating and really competitive. Last year, so it's the season's just calendar year. It starts March, ends in November, December. Last year, Max Verstappen of Red Bull. It's like there are 24 races this year, which is the most there's been. But it's kind of like approximately one every 2 weeks. There's breaks. We're in a break right now. Then there's a run coming up. So Max Verstappen of Red Bull just crushed everyone last year. And then it looked like that was going to happen again this year, but about halfway through, he kind of just fell off a small cliff. But currently the McLaren team and really Lando Norris, that driver, has become like incredibly competitive, started winning races, and now it's like he can actually close the gap in points. For just kind of quickly how it all works, like there are 20 drivers in Formula One. That's it. There are 10 teams, so each team has 2 drivers. Scoring works like it would in Mario Kart, where it's like the higher up you place, the more points you get, and the points just tally up through the rest of the season. There are 2 championships happening at the same time. There's the Drivers' Championship, which is just individual drivers, and there's Constructors, which is those teams. Constructors being like they make their car. So like currently McLaren is leading the Constructors' Championship and will probably easily win it. Now it's kind of like the Drivers' Championship is up for grabs. And I know this is, I don't want to date myself too much here. Where it sits right now, if the rest of the races, Lando Norris gets first and Max Verstappen gets second, Max still wins. But if Max does anything worse than that, then Lando Norris could win. Charles Leclerc of Ferrari could come back to get into it. So it's worth checking out. It's a great sport for nerds. It's story driven with a lot of dynamics, or you can get into just gearhead stuff about tire degradation or aerodynamics, and just a little something for everyone. So I recommend the sport. It's a great time.
Nice.
Sports.
Nice. Dude, I'm surprised that Lando Norris isn't playing like extreme sports. Like that is
right, exactly.
one of the coolest names ever.
Lando Norris.
Yeah. Lando Calrissian and Chuck Norris.
Yes. All the drivers' names just feel like they're generated for like a fictional video game where it's like Street Fighter, where it's like everyone's name is clearly you are from the country you are from. There was the one American driver who was very bad and got fired. His name was Logan Sargent.
Okay.
And
yeah.
Like Max Verstappen is Dutch and Lewis Hamilton is British. And so it's like you're just making these names up. Lando Norris is British, but whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, but
nice.
Like that's Lando cool. Norris, it does sound like a video game character, like but like from the streets of like the hard streets of like northern London or something. I have no idea like how hard those streets are not. But yeah, that's just some pretty cool names.
It's a good name. Solid name.
Was it Max Verstappen?
Max Verstappen.
Verstappen. Like that's
Verstappen.
That's a pretty cool name too.
That's a great name.
It sounds like a
especially for
name.
racing.
Like he sounds like he's like I would not surprised to see him like in sort of like Racer X kind of attire, like from like just like being villainous and
sounds like a Rocky antagonist or something.
Yeah. Something. Just
Nice.
sounds like a bad dude.
He's actually pretty nice, apparently.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not saying that actually is any reflection on reality. I'm just like based on his name, I have built him up as this towering, figure of villainy.
But that's what Formula is building up to be, is like this towering figure of villainy, and like, he's actually like pretty chill.
Nice. I'll bet when you said there are 2 racers on every team, I'll bet the other guy on his team, when he helps him out, he's like, "Thanks for stopping. Bye."
You can't help yourself, can you? It's like a disease.
Pretty good. That's a pretty good one. I like that.
I mean,
that was terrible. It was horrendous. I don't even want to know what you've been into lately, because it's probably disgusting. It's like that meme where boys only want one thing and it's disgusting. It's like that's Josh only wants one thing and it's just memes and it's disgusting.
Puns.
It's just puns and garbage memes and it's disgusting.
I like it.
I appreciate it.
Well, okay, funny enough, like totally different direction. In the pre-show, we talked Magic School Bus a little bit, and how that relates to this video game we're going to be talking about. This is actually a children's book series that I got from the library for my son, and he absolutely loves it. And it's one that I had not thought of in probably decades at this point. But I don't know if either of you guys ever read the books from Wayside School, Sideways Stories from Wayside School. So the guy who wrote this is Louis Sacker. He also wrote the book Holes, which was turned into the movie with Shia LaBeouf. Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, just do it.
That song is great.
Running through the anyways, highly recommend. There was one story. So the Wayside School was this school that was built incorrectly. The builder, instead of, it was supposed to be like 30 different classrooms, instead he built it 30 stories high with one classroom on each. And so it's this book of short stories from this, apparently it's a kindergarten class, but it's a school class. It's 30 different stories, one for each of the floors. But it goes through a different kid and it tells a little story. Some of the stories are like, they don't necessarily make sense. Some of the continuity isn't exactly there intentionally, just to be funny. Other times they bring up things from other stories and it's pretty funny. One of my favorite stories, and I'll just give it away here again, because this is a children's book series, is about this kid named Sammy. And this kid named Sammy, it's a rainy day. Okay. And so all the kids are wearing their raincoats. There's this new kid in the class named Sammy, and he's got his hood on, so you can't see inside. You just see the like two eyes underneath these hoods. Well, when he comes into the class, everyone, it's raining, so everyone kind of smells a little bit. But one of the kids gets close to Sammy, and he's like, "Hey, you stink." So Sammy's like, "No, you stink, and you're ugly." And so the teacher gets involved and is like, "Sammy, okay, actually, you do kind of stink. I think it's your coat. We need to take it off." And he's like, "Shut up, you old windbag." And so she's like, "Whoa, okay. No, like I'm gonna have to like if you do that again, you're gonna be disciplined." So she takes off his coat, and he's wearing another coat underneath, but this one smells even worse. And so long story short, he just starts laughing and insulting the other kids, and they're getting upset because the room is just so noxious with his smell. Take off the coat, there's another coat. They take off that coat, there's another coat. They take off that coat, there's another, and each time it's smellier and worse until, he's like this 4-foot tall kid till he's down to like 5 inches tall, and it's coats like all the way down. And the teacher can like
down.
Yeah, her eyes are like, welling up with tears because it just smells so bad. And finally, she takes off the last coat, and inside is just a dead rat. And so she said, I don't allow dead rats in my class.
I feel
so
like
she
I
picks it
know
up by the tail and throws it out the window. Yeah.
I feel like I know that story.
It's a good story. It's a really funny story. I didn't do it justice, but all that to say is those are the kind of stories that you will get from Sideways Stories from Wayside School. I would recommend it because I loved it as a kid, and now my son's reading it and he loves it, and it's just
incredible,
funny. Yeah. So, so there's that. The other thing, actually, this will I'll reference this.
I've got to see if there's a Audible Sideways.
Oh yeah, that's true. I found a Canadian woman reading them on YouTube, but it is not good quality. But my kids like listening to it, so. Anyways,
it's 2 hours and 26 minutes.
Yeah, it's short. There's just 30 little short stories like that.
I feel like I
it's
know this book.
It's geared towards kids, but it's a good time. Yeah, the other thing that I wanted to recommend, I got into a conversation with a friend of ours about music and bands that I knew when I was younger that I felt like didn't get the acclaim that they deserved. And one that came to mind for me that I had not listened to in a long time, but I went and listened to it, and I was like, yep, this still holds up. It's a band called The Graduate. They had 2 albums. I saw them live. They were awesome live. They were opening for another band. Anyways, their album Anadonia, which was their first full length, if I remember correctly. I listened to that one a ton when I was younger, listened to it again today, and still really like it. So I'd recommend that one. The Graduate, their album Anadonia. It's good stuff. Got nice little delayed guitars, sounds pretty like big and ambient,
like
kind of indie rockish, sort of indie rock, but yeah, sort of.
I mean, did they have any like standout singles? Is there, or is it just kind of like
that the song the Anadonia? That's the namesake of the album. As soon as I played that one, I was like, yep, I know this song. But they were not very well known, so yeah, I guess only if you were in the scene. But it's good stuff. I recommend.
Speaking of good names, the lead singer's name is Corey Warning.
Ah, there you go.
That's a pretty good name.
I would. It's like 50-50 because he could also be like, I could just see someone with lots of eyeliner, the swooped hair over the eye, like Corey Warning could be, like the singer for The Used. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's the only thing. Although,
well, that kind of reminds me of when a while back we went and Megan and I went and saw the Dropkick Murphys, and one of the bands that opened was the Interrupters, and the front woman's name is Amy Interrupter, and
there you go.
Which is very much like, that's a total stage name, and it's like, but yeah,
Interrupter. I hardly even know her.
Shut up.
My wife hates it when I do that. I say that all the time. Anyways,
no, but yeah,
what do you have
Corey
to
Warning is a pretty good name.
Also, Corey Warning might be a game developer now. I found his Twitter. It has retired band guy. He's in Portland now, but has made Garden Story, Floppy Nights.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. Maybe this is the same guy. Claims to be a band guy.
I feel like I
don't
know
know
the name of that.
That's interesting. Hey, small world. Dang.
It all comes back to video games.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Garden
This might be
Story.
pretty cool.
No, I have seen this game. Yes, development and release.
Developer is Rose City Games.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there are very many Corey Warnings out there. I think
that's wild.
I think that
That's
actually
plumb wild.
Yeah. Dang. There you go.
That's real crazy. I don't have too much to sort of like talk about or get into. I did finally sit down and finish listening to The Christ Key by Chad Bird.
Mhm.
I would recommend it for most people. The physical version has like some questions, so like you can interact with it a little bit more. You know, you at the end of it, like discussion questions. So you could like use it for like ostensibly like a small group or like just getting together with some friend, like fellowship group kind of thing, or just for personal study. And I do think it's I would
Nice.
just sort of say I think there's two really I think like one, I think the content is good. Like just like I think we all need to kind of be reminded that the Old Testament is vital for the Christian living. I think so. I think like his thesis is good, and I think more importantly is like he does a really great job of just narratively, and he reads the audio the audiobook version of the book as well. But he's got like a really good style in the sense that I don't like using the word style, but like narrative voice in the sense that like I think he communicates. There's a way that something like this could be very like academic and dry and boring, and just I think his delivery it doesn't skimp on sort of being like it's not there's a category of book that I call pop theology, right? Which is like a lot of like Radical by David Platt, or what is it, Crazy Love by Francis Chan. Like that's pop theology, where like there's a good nugget in there, but a lot of it is there's a lot of fluff, and it kind of like dumbs a lot of like Platt, maybe not so much, but they kind of dumb it down a little bit. And I hate saying that way, but they lean more into the like popularizer kind of role, and there's like stuff where it's like it's okay to maybe leave things like heavy and weighty and maybe a little more technical. Like it's okay to let people wrestle with the text sometimes. I think Bird does a really good job of navigating some of that, where like he doesn't shy away from this is not a very technical book, but like there are times where things just get like a little like heavy, and he's like okay with just sort of like intellectually, and he's okay with just sort of like letting that sit there and letting you wrestle with that, like saying like yep, kind of like almost saying like you probably ought to figure this out, but he's also got like it's like it's a some people don't like this term, but I think he's also very winsome in the way he just like communicates, and like he's got a little bit of a storytelling streak in it, and he can do like he sort of dips into sanctified imagination in a way that doesn't feel perverse or like it's a really good book, and it kind of I'll probably re-listen to it or reread it here not in the immediate future, but again, like it's like one of those where it's just a good reminder. And especially like the way that I consume stuff a lot of times, like with audiobooks, a lot of times I listen to it once to get like the overview, and so I'll listen to it again, I think at some point in time, to just sort of like, and I do have the physical copy, and it's not long at all, but sort of dig into it a little more intentionally. So
Nice.
so yeah, I did pretty strongly like recommend that book and endorse it. The other thing is like, and this is not really, it's just I've been watching more of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and that becomes like more unhinged and more delightful the further I go in. It is very much sort of like an Alice in Wonderland kind of thing, and the more I go in, like the further I dive into it, and it's not like even like super perverse, or it's just insane. And it's just like, but it's insane in this kind of like strangely coherent way where I'm like, oh no, like I kind of cipher, like I pick up what you guys are like throwing down here, and it's like, oh, okay, like this kind of doesn't make sense, but it also kind of does. And there's something like kind of like delightful, and something that's just like so I don't know,
adventurous and bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, it is bizarre how accurate that nomenclature is. Like, it is. This is a very. It's like, I'm like, what the heck is going on? It's like, yeah, it's just weird, and I kind of love it. It's like not like
Nice.
It's not like this is my favorite anime and therefore now it is my personality. It's not to that extent. Right, you know, but it is weird, and I kind of like, I'm in for the ride right now. Like there was this the one I just watched, and I'm still fairly early on in the series. A dude pulls out a Tommy gun, just unloads in a vampire for like a solid 3 minutes. Like he pulls out a machine gun in public, and he's just like shooting this vampire for like 3 minutes, and just like people were screaming, and like it's just, I'm like, this is just so dumb. It's like, but I'm here for it. So, but yeah, yeah, I mean, that's really all. Like, I think that's like, yeah, that's all I got. But I had mentioned this before, and I think it is time to just sort of ask the question, or really sort of address, like, we are a video game podcast. We are here primarily to talk about video games. So Mark,
love those.
What have you been playing lately?
Yeah, I have barely begun Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. So I'm only in the second dungeon, so I'm barely into it. I don't love it yet, but what I keep hearing people have like a similar experience around it, where like once you get a little bit in, it really starts to click. I keep hearing of like get past the third dungeon, and it's like something happens that really opens everything up. So it's just like it starts slow, like all Zelda games do, but kind of rather than like a slow story start, it's very like slow mechanically. And because also it's just weird. Like it doesn't really feel quite right, where it's like there was a fan game online that might still exist that like lets you play Super Mario Brothers as like other NES characters. So it's like you could play as Link or Samus just in Mario Brothers, and it kind of just broke the game while also making like other things a lot harder, like normal Mario things. Just you couldn't do that as Samus. This feels a lot like that, where it's like this is very obviously a top-down Zelda, where it's like everything is Zelda coded. It like looks like Link's Awakening. Looks like, well, it's really like Link to the Past coded specifically, but having a character other than Link makes it feel really foreign, and so it's a mixed bag where like some things are really cool, some things just don't feel quite right. But I do think it's going to click soon. I'm really curious about it. There's the biggest thing that's like this is weird. It's like not having just a dedicated one button attack button, where it's like you're summoning echoes. You have to go into the menu, pull up like what you want, the enemy you want. The enemy's like not that good at fighting, so it's like it's just a bit of a bit tedious. bit of a drone.
Huh.
But it like kind of demands a more tactical approach, which is fun but kind of time consuming. I think I've kind of realized like combat has never been like the best thing about Zelda, and that's kind of like a lot more obvious in this case. And I think that might change soon, but
Okay.
the UI is also like, and people complain about finding echoes is really tricky, and that's true. Like there's not really a good way to do it. But I think eventually it's like I'll find the 5 or 6 that I just keep using and it'll feel better. There's also like a ton of other things that Zelda can do besides making echoes that I just forget about all the time. But I like, all that being said, I have really high hopes. I'm really curious about where it goes. I do think if you're like a fan of top-down Zelda, like this has what you love about it. Like dungeons are still great, exploring Hyrule is still great. It requires a lot more like imaginative solutions, but I think having like the funnel of dungeons really kind of makes it like it takes that Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom approach where it's like you can do any solution here. I think having the more traditional dungeon helps to kind of funnel you into the right way to like, to approach that. And so it just is like, it's the normal top-down Zelda, but cracked wide open and still kind of, it's weird. But I'm into it. Not totally into it yet. But I'm really curious.
Nice. That's cool. I have
Josh,
intentionally kind of stayed away. I don't. I accidentally clicked on something, so it looked older. But no, I did not mean to do that. But I've intentionally stayed away from a lot of kind of. I know it's pretty highly reviewed, So, and I'm sure. I was gonna say I'm sure Nintendo wouldn't make a bad Zelda game, and that's generally true. If you don't count the CDI games, but Nintendo didn't make those, so all that. So no, I don't know when I will ever get around to it, but it does looks cool. I like the change up of the formula. That's pretty cool too.
A friend of mine is a lot farther in and loves it. So like I'm kind of just waiting for the moment where it's like, okay, I get it now. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that it's not woke garbage because he plays a girl.
Yeah, no,
I'm kidding.
I like the one of the things that I've heard. I've listened to some coverage about it, and one of the things is like, it's surprising how many solutions you can find that the answer. Like, how many questions can you ask where the answer is just throw more beds at it? And apparently, like throwing
beds are great.
Beds, fix all the problems in the world, and it's
like literally it's a platform where it's small enough to jump up onto, and it's like a 2x1 grid, so it's like actually you can't build stairs otherwise, so you just keep using beds. There's a reason the beds are the go-to.
So
nice.
I like there's a part of me that unironically really enjoys that, where it's like, nope, like just beds are the answer. All of life's problems. More beds
all the way down.
We need beds all the way down.
You do also gain health back when you lie in the bed. So beds,
nice.
You gotta love them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
More than one use.
They're multifaceted. Not only are they
contain
platforms,
multitudes.
Yes. These beds contain multitudes. Oh man. Well, have you been playing anything else, Mark, besides Echoes of Wisdom?
I'll briefly talk about Dave the Diver, which I've kind of lapsed on, but it's really charming and really overwhelming. There's like that core loop of you dive for fish, and then you serve the fish at the sushi restaurant, and then you buy better diving gear, so you can get more expensive fish, and it just keeps going. But there's also like a bazillion different things that get added to that too. So it's like still a mostly cohesive whole, but there's just a billion ideas, and they're all serviceable, but some of them, like half of them, probably feel like underserved, which is also kind of merciful of like, there's just so much game in this game. It's like scope creep, but in weirdly the best way possible that scope creep could actually happen. It just like no one was told no to their idea, and then they like implemented that idea with the most care they could. And so not everything is necessarily fun, but everything is at least amusing. I am like a good bit halfway in the game and still finding new stuff. Like there's just entirely new mechanics being introduced. I kind of wish they trimmed it a bit. So like I really enjoy that core loop, and it's like kind of gets to the point where I really enjoyed the restaurant part of it, but it's like you spend an hour diving and then 5 minutes in the restaurant. So it kind of becomes a little like imbalanced. And that's partly because there's just a ton of other stuff happening too. So there's a lot of game if you want to play it, but it's also, there's a ton of heart. It's really, really funny game. It's like, yeah, heartwarming, but I thought I would love it. It's still kind of like at a probably 8 out of 10 for me right now.
Okay.
That kind of sounds like to me. What was that game that we played a few years ago, Josh? You would sort of at night you would explore the dungeon, and then the next day. Yes,
Moonlighter.
Did you ever play that, Mark?
I've not.
It's got a pretty similar loop in the sense that like it's sort of this dungeon crawler, and you kind of load up on all this gear to like take back to your shop, and then you sell the stuff in your shop, and the shop sequence takes like 10-15 minutes, and you'll spend hours sometimes like running through some of these dungeons, clearing them out. But it was I did like that loop. It was a lot of fun.
I had fun with the game. It sounds as though Dave the Diver is probably a bit more complex. Like Moonlighter is pretty simple.
It's pretty basic, like boiled down.
But fun.
Yeah, Dave the Diver is like one of those games that I've been like side-eyeing that it could break me. I think just even listening to you talk about it, where it's like, because I did really like that loop in Moonlighter. And it's just like, if you have like a better version of like something similar to that, it's like this could be dangerous.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. And I think I went in seeing how many people like love this game, and I don't love it at quite the same level. But
if I recall, it came out around the same time. There's a few months difference between that and Dredge, and both of which just nautical themed games that were very highly rated indie games. So sometimes, not that I get them confused, but they take up similar places in my brain that if I were to ever pull the trigger on one of them, I don't know which one I'd go with.
Dredge, since we're talking about like Dredge is kind of like low key on like, especially now that we're still technically at this point in time in spooky season. Like I feel like Dredge is like something that I like want to throw on sort of like just as like something to cook sort of on the side. But because apparently Dredge has spooky vibes.
They did add Dredge themed DLC to Dave the Diver. So there's that too.
Okay. Yeah. That
the Venn diagram is really a lot more overlap than you think.
Nice. And apparently Godzilla is in Dave the Diver as well.
Yes.
Now, can you fish? Can you like hunt Godzilla and like serve him up as sashimi or whatever?
Maybe. I have not actually done that yet.
In theory.
In theory, based on other boss battles, you do get ingredients from the boss battles. So theoretically, you could probably serve Godzilla.
I don't know how I feel about that. Not only taking him down, but then eating him. That
irradiated lizard flesh.
Yeah,
delicious.
No. Nice.
Well, that's it for me.
That's it.
Sweet.
Joshua.
Well, yeah, nothing too exciting. If you've been listening to the podcast, it's nothing new. Just continuing on. Evil Within, playing it in all of its gory glory, and also Sakuna a little bit more. So that's probably closer to something like Dave the Diver. And I think I kind of said it last time, but one of the things that makes the game unique, because because the game isn't necessarily very unique. It's sort of along the same lines of a lot of other farming sims, or kind of the combination farming sims, something like a Rune Factory. But even, and I'm not super far into the game, so it might get more complex. But it's simplified, but what makes this game unique is it really feels like the creators had a love for more traditional Japanese things, and in particular the process of growing rice. Not just anything, not just a whole farm full of stuff, but rice in particular. And so it doubles down on, oh, how much water is in the rice paddy, and making sure that you don't have rocks in there, and there aren't any weeds, and making sure that you've tilled the ground enough, and that you've spread the seed far apart enough but also close enough to grow together. Very particular about yeah, just rice. But it feels as though, like, that sounds lame, but it's done in such a way, at least the way that it feels to me, is like they're just passionate about showing you this Japanese tradition, if that makes sense. Because Japanese culture is much more about the kind of the beauty in the mundane things, if that makes sense. You think of something like origami, where it's like taking a piece of paper and making it beautiful, and like taking a lot of time to be very precise in what you're doing. I think I can't think of what it's called. But there's a kind of art where you basically put together broken pottery, and you put gold in the cracks, and I can't remember what it's called. It's like reusing the broken pieces.
Kintsugi or something like that.
Something like that. That sounds right. I think that's also, is that a
to the Google?
Yeah. Oh, right. Is that a Death Cab for Cutie album name as well, I think? But anyways, it just feels very Japanese in that sense of, like, they just really enjoy this thing, and they want to show you this thing.
It is kintsugi, or
okay.
Kintsukuroi.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a traditional Japanese method for repairing broken pottery with lacquer and precious metals.
Yeah. There you go. So, anyways, I'm still not at the point where I would highly recommend this game. I'm still not far enough to whether I would say that. I'm enjoying it. Actually, I'm enjoying it because of its simplicity, as I'm on the elliptical. It's my handheld game. So it's easy to just pick up and play, put it down. It's certainly not, like a top game for me, but I'm enjoying my time with it. And, I hope it gets better, but if this is all there is, hopefully I don't want to hit a point where it just feels tedious. Even though there is a bit of tedium in what you do, but I think it's by design, just to show you like the process of growing rice. But hopefully I don't have to repeat that process. Like, that's the only process I repeat, 100 times before then I see credits roll, kind of a thing. So I'm enjoying it. I don't know that I can give it that much, high rating, but I'm enjoying it so far. So that my beatdown score has not changed at all. I did, obviously, this is what we're talking about today, finish Outer Wilds. More on that later. I picked up that game for this episode, so I don't get any points for that. But yeah, I'll give thoughts later.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So. Yeah. As far as what I've been playing, it's really just Outer Wilds and Silent Hill. And
Silent Hill,
or not Silent Hill, Evil Within.
Mm-hmm.
The Silent Hill 2 remake that came out, though, has done very, very well. Which and I'm hearing from a lot of enthusiasts that like this is like makes me think that we need to revisit this, Josh. That is.
I may mention Silent Hill 2 later in this episode. We'll see. There might be some comparisons to be made.
But I am curious to see how that plays out.
I am too.
I don't see a through line there, but hey, if you've
fog,
got
that's it.
Lots of fog. Yeah, actually. Now that's Silent Hill. The village of Silent Hill exists in Bramble Space,
Oh, jeez.
Now it makes sense. I get it now. No, but so and I have technically gotten an ending in Outer Wilds, but it's not the ending that I want to get.
Mhm.
To sort of wrap my playthrough up on that. So no score on that yet, but yeah, it's and yeah, as far as Evil Within, I'm not really that much like beyond where I was last time we talked. I guess by the time this comes out, people will be like, "What do you think?" Because like, yeah, space time, we're manipulating space time, folks, and which is actually pretty much in keeping with what we're going to be talking about tonight a little bit.
Right.
So yeah, it's just it all makes sense. It makes sense. Just
Mhm.
trust the
You're just
process here,
receiving a
folks.
second signal. It's not
Yeah.
actually duplicating the signal. You're just receiving a second one from a
And
different
we're
place.
not breaking causality
Mhm.
yet, but
Yeah.
we might if we're not careful.
It's
All
wild.
that might make sense. But yeah, my beatdown score hasn't changed at all because while I have technically beaten Outer Wilds, I actually haven't beaten Outer Wilds yet. So no change for me either. But yeah, and if you guys have been listening to the podcast for any amount of time, you know what we're talking about when we talk about like the backlog beatdown. And of course, like you're listening to the backlog breakdown, and there's this thing called the beatdown, which is a meta that we run all year long. And if you're interested, you can reach out to us, look us up in the Discord. We'll fill you in. Um, but yeah, I that is the one thing where like that naming convention is a little bit
Mhm.
like I'm like I get where people are like what is going on here? I will give people like I'm like no, yeah, you're not wrong. It's a little ambiguous, a little confusing.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't. Yes. That being said, if you guys like what we're doing here, right? We would just ask you to consider. We have a Patreon, and we'd ask you to consider donating to that. Um, think of it as a tip jar if you really like what we're about, and you want to partner with us, sort of, and you've done the rating and the reviewing, you've done the sharing and the caring, you've done all of that stuff. And if you haven't done that stuff, we'd love to have you sort of give us an appropriate star review on whatever your podcatcher of choice is. Um, but for as little as $1 a month, you can get early and uncut access to each and every one of our episodes. There's a video feed for patrons. Patrons get a little more access to us through the Discord. They have a unique server role in our Discord. They also get a little more access to us through the Patreon. And like Mark tonight, he's Mark here.
Yeah.
He's a patron, and this is actually one of the perks of the patronage is that you can recommend or suggest a topic or game for us to play, and we will, if it's reasonable, try to do an episode in the coming year about that game. So he is utilizing his privileges as a patron and made us play this game. Was that for good or ill?
You're welcome.
Yes. Was that for good or ill? We will discuss that later. But yeah.
Well, also, you can't force it too much. I can give more of a forceful pitch. Like y'all have a great vision. You have a great. I love what you're doing. So that's like why I want to support y'all with this. So this is a really fun perk to be able to make you play Outer Wilds, which is a game I love, and talk about it. But most of all, I think it's really worthwhile pitching in a little bit. So I think it's excited to see what y'all are doing. So I want to give everyone just a little extra nudge that feels weird that when you like y'all can't necessarily do it. I totally get it, but I can. So give these people money. They're worth it.
Well, oh shucks, I might be blushing. I can't tell. But thanks, Mark. That does mean a lot. But yeah, if you guys like this, and if Mark hasn't sold you on it, I can't add anything of substance to that. So that being said, we, alongside our friends at the Playwell Network, we are dedicated to exploring and sort of like just trying to engage play with a little bit more wisdom and trying to help people to play well. And so alongside our friends, we've got Paul the Techno Funk Boy with his different projects. We've got Wesley Ray the Henshin Dad himself, and Nicholas Porch, aka Porcho, aka the Wonder from Down Under. Those guys all have projects, and we would gladly recommend any and all of them. Alongside, and this is a bit of a bonus shout out. Mark is the host of a delightful short form podcast called. It used to be called 11 and a half minutes to talk about video games.
It was.
But he has since done the rebranding. He's now just the host of Quick Play, which is not nearly as much fun to say, but is probably a lot more memorable.
It's easier to say, at least.
Yes.
So,
but
makes more sense.
We would also just like alongside our friends from the Playwell Network, we wholeheartedly endorse Mark's endeavor over there. It's a delight.
Nice.
And well, and just like if he had a Patreon, I would say subscribe, because he does the thing like just as a, and you could probably do a better job of this, but like so. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna like sing your praises for a second here, Mark. We take like 3 hours to get to the point. And Mark has taken this and just sort of like distilled. He has these like 15 to 20 minute conversations where they drill down on this one thing, and it's like, does a lot sort of get left on the table or on the cutting room floor? Sure. Like there's lots of stuff that they don't talk about, but he does a great job of sort of being a conversation starter. And I cannot count the number of times, like a lot of times when you listen to podcasts, and I think we've had this conversation before, Mark, like you feel like you're sort of in a conversation with them. I feel that more often with your podcast than anything else. Like you have really good guests, good questions, like good conversations that I'm like, oh, I really want to be there. I want to be sitting across the, like, but if, as I have proven, when I get on there, those episodes are anything but quick.
Yeah, you left out the 40-minute episode at length that we've done a few times.
And it was like,
thank you. Yeah,
we did 2 back to back, and I was like, okay, we're gonna make this one quicker. And I think the second one was even longer.
The second one was like twice as long as the first one. Yeah,
I felt so bad.
No worries. It was good content, so it was fun.
It was, but guys, if you haven't, go check out Mark over at Quick Play and be delighted. But that being said, here's a word from one of our friends at the Playwell Network.